So, hey, so-called Oreos. This is Kia Swain here, and I have a special interview with Camille Hugh, the creator of Cards That Make You LOL, a game of hit or miss party tricks. So, Camille, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm
No
excited.
problem. Yeah, I'm excited too. So, a little background. Camille's in Nuvas, which is a group with like comedy, I guess comedy lovers, creators, all that good stuff. I'm not too involved with the group, but I like to see what's coming up and what people have available. So she reached out and had this really cool game, and I was like, wow, this is really awesome. A black girl who has a game and stuff. Let me interview for the podcast. So Camille, do you want to give a little just background of yourself and like because I know your bio has serial entrepreneur, so you could just tell the folks what you're about.
Sure. So my name is Camille Hugh, and I am a serial entrepreneur. So that just means I've started a lot of different companies. I am a writer. I've written 13 books. I produce workout DVDs. I'm really into fitness, so I've produced 2 fitness cardio DVDs. I am a real estate broker by trade. I've started like wedding related companies. And my latest venture is In Stitches Games, which is a gaming company, which I designed specifically to help people laugh out loud because I felt like a lot of games just got really intense. And I wanted to create something that really celebrated laughter and working cooperatively and people just feeling good, win or lose. And that was my goal in creating that company.
That's amazing. So you already answered my first question, which is what inspired you to start your company. But what inspired you to get like, because you've said you've done like wedding and fitness, what inspired you to get more into like gaming? And do you have a certain like target audience when you thought of people laughing?
What inspired me to get into gaming is because I love game nights myself. So I regularly host game nights for my friends. And I think it's a great way to bond with people, to meet people, to get to know people. And it's just an awesome social thing to do. So I, having attended as many game nights as I have and seeing games that I thought could be improved or things that I wanted in the gaming experience that I didn't get out of other games inspired me to create this game. And then I'm trying to
Awesome.
remember your second part of the
It
question.
was, did you have a certain target audience in mind when you thought of, let me create this game about laughter and joy?
Well, at first I was just thinking I want to make everyone laugh, but really with Cards That Make You LOL, I found that it's probably best for families, for families that want to play games together. So if you're interested in spending quality time together with your kids, I wanted to create something that adults could have fun with as well as children. It's difficult a lot of times. Like I have 3 nephews, and when we're playing games, if we're playing a child game or a
Yeah.
kid's game, it can be too easy.
You're like over it.
Yeah, no, it's not really challenging for the adults. So I wanted to kind of create something that you didn't have any advantage being an adult with, which is what I did with Cards That Make You LOL. It's based on party tricks. So like you don't have any special advantage being able to lick your elbow, which my nephew could do, which I can't do. So
Yeah.
I wanted to create a game like that. And adults can play it as well. I've played it with my millennial friends at our game nights as well as with family. I've played it with my sister and my nephews and other kids. So it's great for both, for all types really.
Yeah,
But
I feel like we really don't think about that because it's usually like Cards Against Humanity, which obviously is PG-13, or it's like a really, annoying kids game when you're like 20, whatever, you're just like, oh, I'm over it. But that's really good because I didn't think about that. I'm not like too into gaming, but I feel like that's the type of game that I would want to play with my nephew or something like that. So can you give us a little bit of info on, I know you mentioned party tricks, but is there anything more to the game of like what's the end goal? How do you win? All that stuff.
sure. So the objective of the game, okay, so I'll just lay it out, try to make it as simple as possible. It's a very simple game. And how it works is that you divide into 2 equal teams. So you can have a small group, a large group. We've had like I believe up to 40 people playing this game at once, which is kind of intense. But so you split into 2 equal teams, and then anyone calls a card out loud, and then you get in your team and decide how many of your opponents can actually perform whatever the card is. And then everyone has to do whatever the thing is. So if the card is how many people can do a Vulcan salute on both hands, You would get with your team, which is this thing, by the way.
Yeah, okay. Like
Your
the
team.
Star Wars.
There you
I
go.
don't know what it's called. I've never watched Star Wars, but I know it's like the
Yeah,
peace thing.
yeah. Which a lot of people cannot do. So you would get together with your team and you decide, and then everyone would have to do it. And then the funny part, of course, is seeing people attempt to do this thing, which some people just cannot do, and then being amazed, finding out that some people can do this thing. So it's pretty simple. And then depending upon what you guess, if you guess three people could do it and five people could do it, you get -2 points. At the end of the game, the person who has the closest score to zero wins. So it's very, very simple.
Oh, okay. Cool. So it counts like backwards kind of. It's not like your traditional trying to get the most points or whatever.
Right. It's like a betting game, essentially. If you've ever played those like card betting games, it's like that.
Got it. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So what is because I listen to a lot of entrepreneurship podcasts and I in the last couple of years I gotten pretty interested in entrepreneurship and business because before I honestly didn't know anything about business. But what do you think is the hardest thing to be a Black business owner because I know on how I built this, a lot of them talk about, especially when you have like, venture capitalists, a lot of that goes to men and particularly white men, then it's white women. So it's only, I think, 1 or 2% that money's going to Black owned female businesses. So what do you think is the hardest part of being a current modern day, like Black owned business owner?
Well, that's a good point that you mentioned. Personally, I've never raised funds outside. I've just used my own savings. So it's if I want to create a company, I would save up to do that. But I do agree with you that traditionally venture capitalists are not really funding Black-owned businesses. The money is not really going there. For me, the most difficult part about being in business is marketing. It's
Okay, yeah,
getting your product out there because the market is just flooded with things out there. And so to make your voice rise, to the top and to get noticed, for me, that's the most difficult part. Particularly being just a Black woman in gaming, which is kind of it's not usual,
yeah, for
And
sure.
you have women that look like me, and I've read, which I wasn't so aware of, but just reading a lot of the game groups on Facebook, that there seems to be a lot of, I don't want to say racism, but it's not, the gaming community isn't as open to other races and genders creating games. So that's like another hurdle for me in just this specific industry that I'm in, getting noticed as a Black woman in the gaming community.
For
But
sure.
I feel as though if your product is good, which I believe in my product, that people will talk about it and you'll spread the word and you can overcome racists and people who are, just don't want to have anything to do with you because of their closed-mindedness.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like marketing is a huge thing because it's a lot of strategy and I feel like that's probably the number one struggle we have with the podcast because we really believe in our content and we believe in it because we know how much work we're putting into it. But the marketing is like it's a tough, crowd when you have a lot of crowded, voices and then you have these especially like white influencers who have these just basic brands, but they pull in so many people. And so I imagine that's, similar to like businesses and stuff. And, people just have more knowledge in that too. So that's definitely a thing. And especially with gaming, because I'm not into gaming, but I really love hearing about like the incel community and like
Oh, wow.
Twitch and like Gamergate and like because I used to work at a company that did there was a channel that was gaming and so I had to open my mind to like what is the gamers talking about and stuff and it was really fascinating because I don't know anything about gaming, but I
Is there
did
a reason you don't like games or you're not into it?
I'm just not a huge gamer. I don't dislike it. I like, I have like a Wii and like Super Mario Brothers and like basic stuff like that, but I don't have like what is it, the Switch or like I'm
Oh,
not playing games in my free time. I'll do it, but it's not something where I'm like I need to play like World of Warcraft or like I only know what this from like friends telling me what the games are and like Animal Crossing and I don't even know if that's considered like gaming, but yeah, I've just
it is. See, well, I'm with you on that. Like, I don't play too many online games or anything like that. I'm more of like a board game, a card game where my friends are actually coming together in person and we're seeing each other face to face and I'm getting that quality time in.
for
Whereas,
sure. I definitely prefer that as well.
you know,
Yeah. That's definitely up my alley. Like I love Taboo. That's like my favorite game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets intense and I love and Uno obviously. So those are like my two favorite. But what is one thing you wish that people knew about being a business owner in general? Because you're a serial entrepreneur and a lot of people and you fund it yourself, which is major. So I think what do you think what would you like people to know about that type of lifestyle?
About the lifestyle, it's it's a hustle, right?
Yeah.
It's a grind. A lot of people think that when you're an entrepreneur, you're all set, like you don't have to work for anyone, so you just think it's going to be a easy road, but you're doing oftentimes a lot more work than if you were working for someone else, obviously, because it's your business, it's your brand. If you don't do the work, then nothing gets done. So but I would just say to a lot of people who are interested in entrepreneurship to just start. A lot of people, they get inside their head, they don't want to launch until everything is perfect, and then they just draw things out and it never gets done. So I think the most important step is to just start like you guys did. Just get together and do it and put it out there and start from there. And then it grows and you learn as you go. Of course, there's something to be said about reading books and attending seminars and learning the craft, but it's just really important to start. That's how I did a lot of my businesses. Like with Bubble Soccer, I had never actually played Bubble Soccer, which is a company that I have. I had never actually played the game, before I started that business and put up a website, and it just took off. So just start is my number one tip. And another tip, create a niche. So as to your point before about other people in the podcasting space that kind of have these basic podcasts and going up, like when you have a niche, it's a little bit easier to stand out and to be heard. So
Yeah, those
all
are both great points. I love that. And I feel like you said, a lot of people are planning it out and all this stuff, and I definitely have that issue too. But it's good to also have people around you that are just like pushing you to just start. So I think that's great. And the last question I have for you is, how can people continue to support? Sorry, I'm going to say that again. How can people continue to support you and other Black-owned businesses?
So right now I have a Kickstarter. I believe it actually ends on June 30th. But if this airs and the Kickstarter is still going, then you can check out Cards That Make You LOL on Kickstarter. There are some really great discounts on there. And I'm also partnering with Rockabye, which is a weighted blanket company. If you purchase the game and send Rockabye a receipt, you get $40 off of their weighted blankets. If the Kickstarter is no longer going by the time you see this podcast, then you can just head on over to institchesgames.com, or you can purchase Cards That Make You LOL on Amazon.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely put the link in the bio so people can have that and support you. And it looks like you're pretty good on your goal. I mean, I'm looking at it now. You're at 710 out of 2000. So
Yes.
hopefully by the time this airs, you can double that and get to that push.
Yes.
Yeah. And how can people find you on socials, or how would you like people to connect with you more?
I am on Instagram at Sit in Pretty, sorry. And so that's SITINPRETTY, or In Stitches Games on Instagram. So that's the gaming page. I'm also on Facebook, In Stitches Games, also on Twitter, In Stitches Games, the same handle. So you can find me on there if you want to connect with me, or Sit in Pretty is my personal Instagram.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Camille.
Thank you, Nakia.
No problem.